Hi, it's Dot from dottotrot.com, and this morning I'm making some tomato sauce. And what I love about tomato sauce is the taste of the tomatoes. Having really fresh tomatoes is really key, but also the richness of the olive oil with it. They just make a wonderful sauce together. And what I'm using today are 4 beefsteak tomatoes. So I'm going to make about 4 cups of sauce with that. A 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm using a big old bulb of roasted garlic that I roasted not too long ago. I'm using a teaspoon of sea salt, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, a full or a large onion, diced up just a yellow onion, and then a half a cup of fresh basil. And I've already chopped all this stuff up. All we're going to do here is I usually puree the tomatoes ahead of time, and so I'm going to get ready to do that in just a moment. I don't take the skins off the tomatoes. I leave them on. There are people out there who don't like it with skin, and you can certainly, if you're one of them, go ahead and take them off. Just blanch your tomatoes and then remove the skins that way. With me, I like leaving it on. I tend not to take off skins of vegetables simply because I feel like I might be missing out on some vitamins or nutrients within the fruit or the vegetable itself. So with that, we're going to head on over to the stove and get going with cooking of all this wonderful food to make this great sauce. Hey, we're going to go ahead. I already have the oil heating up here up on the stove. I heated it up on a medium heat. I'm going to go ahead and add the onion. You can hear the sizzle. And you just want to cook it enough so the onions are soft, get soft. So about 5 minutes roughly. What I'm also going to do is, let me go ahead and mix that in here. You want that olive oil flavor getting on your onion. I'm also going to go ahead and put in the clove or the bulb of roasted garlic. Now, because I roasted this and I've cut off the tops already for the roasting, all you have to do is squeeze it in there. Woo, here we go. Here they come. It takes a little bit, but it makes it really easy to get it in there. Just sort of add this in. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and mix it all up together. Oh, and it smells so good. You can really smell the roasted garlic in here. What's great about roasted garlic, by the way, you can make it in big batches. I usually make about 12 to 14 bulbs at one time. You can just you can freeze them in the freezer with a freezer-proof bag. That's all you need. Take out the air, and they last in there for several months. And you just defrost or let it thaw out on its own, or just pop it in a microwave for a little bit. But now what we're going to do while this is cooking is I'm going to go ahead and puree my tomatoes. What I'm going to use today, instead of my traditional blender died on me a very violent death. So one of the nice things I picked up last year was a NutriNinja. And actually, I got this, I went to a conference, a bloggers conference, and NutriNinja was there. And they went ahead and they sent me this for free for me to go ahead and test and see how I liked it. For a review, and it was for an honest review. That was so no payment or anything like that. And this is sort of a nice little workhorse I've got in my kitchen. It was a little bit, interesting to sort of get used to the idea, because you flip this upside down, and usually with the blender, nothing is upside down because you don't want anything leaking out. But it works really well. Same as with the blender, you don't want anything hot to go in here because the seal doesn't work as well with something hot and it can explode. I learned that the hard way. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this on here. I like having a nice seal on here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this on here. You just drop it into the little niches and you just sort of lock it in. And then you just tap it on the top to pulse it. There you go. So that's a little batch is done here. Let me go ahead, flip it up. Now it looks pink, but that's what happens. The color will come back. It's just foamy right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in batches. Let me stir my onions up. It's not ready to go in here yet. But I'm going to go ahead and start pureeing the rest of the tomatoes. Okay, we pureed all the tomatoes, so they're right here. The onions, if you look at it, they are pretty translucent. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the remaining ingredients. So that would include all of the tomatoes. Just going to pour it right in here slowly so it doesn't splash too much. And you want to mix that in here. And while I'm mixing it up, I'm going to add the salt and pepper. And then, of course, all of the basil. And what you want to do, you want to get it really mixed in there. You want to mix the onions, the oil, the tomatoes, basil, and the seasoning. And then what you want to do is you're going to let this simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. What you want to do is have your spoon, basically, you want to have this thick enough where it's going to be coating the back of your spoon. Now, if you want a much thicker sauce, especially if you can turn this into a pizza sauce if you like, you just let it sit on your stovetop for about 40 minutes on a medium heat. And what you're doing is you're basically evaporating out the water from the tomatoes. Essentially, any excess liquid from the tomatoes you're getting out, which is the best way to thicken, which is the only way to thicken up your tomato sauce, the low carb way. So what we're going to do is go ahead and let this cook for about 20 to 30 minutes, let it simmer, and then we'll be ready to go to see if it's to my thickness that I'd like, and then we'll check back in just about 20 minutes or so. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. I put it up at medium-high heat. Let a little bit of boiling happen, and I constantly stirred it, and this is how my sauce came out. So it's nice and thick the way I like it. A lot of the water was taken out. There's still a little bit of water coming off of it. You see the steam rising. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it off heat. I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to put it in my little mason jars here. And the nice thing about the sauce is I can use it for if I wanted to do spaghetti where instead of noodles, actual pasta noodles, you use vegetables like zucchini. People are using beets, which are a little bit too sugary for me, but zucchini, any type of squash is really good. You can also use eggplants or whatever really floats your boat as far as using vegetables for your noodles. You can also use it just with making meatballs, which is what I'm going to be doing with this. I'm going to be cooking my meatballs in the sauce in a crock pot later on. But you can use it on cuts of meat. You can make a nice chicken parmesan without the breading. I just use a nice little parmesan breading for that instead, and maybe with a little bit of almond flour rather than actual wheat flour. So there's a lot of different things you can use with the sauce. Now, once you bottle it and put it in your fridge, it'll probably last you about a week and a half roughly, because you're using fresh ingredients, so they can go bad. Typically what I like to do is if I'm making a batch of this, I will go ahead and sort of make a bunch of recipes that actually require the sauce. So my meatballs is the primary recipe that I'm using this week that will incorporate all of my sauce. So until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.